Cover two. Welcome everybody to the Cover 2 Fantasy Football Podcast. That's right, we are back for another episode. I'm excited to give you some guys that you want to stay away from that are in their sophomore season. Year 2 is kind of rough for some people, and these 3 guys I'm going to share with you are guys I'd like to stay away from, even though they're hyped up for this season. Speaking of hype, thank you so much for all your love and support as we go through in our Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, of course, now back on YouTube. But let's get started with guys to stay away from in their second year. All right, let's start with our first one. He is the number 1 pick from last season. Trevor Lawrence has had a tough go-around. Obviously, that offensive line did not help him, and he had a lot of injuries on both the running back and, of course, the wide receiver side. He's going to be returning a lot of guys this year that it might help him. Obviously, we have Christian Kirk just signing. Marvin Jones Jr. still there. DJ Chark is now gone. But I do see him having some success now with a tight end that can actually play in Evan Ingram. So we'll see what happens with him this season. But he should not be a guy that you should be drafting. I don't think you should have to even worry about him. Maybe you pick him up if he's having an impressive year or your quarterbacks are just awful. But I would stay away from Trevor Lawrence this season. Going to his teammate, Travis Etienne. Obviously, he was hurt all year last year. Supposed to be that 1-2 punch, and that's why they drafted them. But James Robinson is still there. He's a little banged up right now, but I don't see him not being the number 1 starter. Yes, Etienne is fast. Yes, Etienne can catch those passes. And maybe Trevor Lawrence will still be running for his life. But I don't see the hype. I would not look at Etienne until probably the later 7th or 8th round, if at all. I just don't trust this Jaguars offense, and so I would stay clear of the Jags this season. Finally, the guy that's been hyped up the most, and I still don't understand what they're doing in San Francisco, but Trey Lance is going to be the starting quarterback until, once Jimmy is traded. Obviously has an impressive offense, but if you looked at his starts last year, where they were very mediocre, obviously he's got a great arm. He's got Debo. He's got Brandon Ayuk, and of course that running game that's just amazing. But I just don't see him having an impressive season, especially the guys that are drafting before him. He's maybe a stash and hold, but I don't see him having an impressive week 1 through week 8. Maybe they get better. Maybe Kittle really helps this season, but I would really stay away from Trey Lance. All right, another episode in the books, and I'm excited to get to some veterans that you should be checking out this season. Guys that, have been on the list, but maybe you're not so high on them, but I am, and I want you to keep an eye on as you get ready for your draft for the 2022 year. But until then, Cover 2. Cover 2.